90.5 FM, Radio Thailand. Good Morning Andaman.
And you're listening to the Good Morning Andaman program. And in the studio today is the former announcer and disc spinner and newsman, Steven Walter Layne, who has changed his hats and now he's in charge of all the information that we have in the world, at least in East Asia, about seeds.
Good morning, Andaman.
And he just got back from Korea recently, where he went to the seed conference at Incheon, or however that place is pronounced.
Well, it's the Asian Seed Congress, the annual Asian Seed Congress in Incheon, South Korea.
So, okay, what was on the seed agenda in Incheon?
Well, every year they have talk a little bit about the Asian Seed Congress. Every year they have this annual conference, and it's the flagship event of APSA, the association I work for. So APSA is the Asia Pacific Seed Association. So it's not just the Asian region. In fact, we do cover many countries in the Pacific region, including New Zealand, Australia, Fiji, Mongolia is part of Asia, of course, but stretching all the way over to Turkey as well. So it's a pretty vast region. It's the largest regional seed association in the world by territory and members. There's other big regional seed associations that people might be familiar with. There's the American Seed Trade Association. There's the Seed Association of the Americas, which is South America. There's the African Seed Trade Association. There's the European Seed as well, but we're the largest by territory. So,
are these associations competing associations?
No, in fact, it's not much different from, like, I guess you have, like, on a economic scale, you have the NAFTA, you have the ASEAN Economic Community. It's not much different from that, really. I mean, the idea is to work together more with different regions, and so we are partners. Some of the members of the other seed associations are part of our board, in fact. And
well, as you say, that's a vast area, everywhere from, say, South America all the way over to Turkey. Now, I should think that the growing regions that are in those places are quite different. Huh? I think Chinese growing conditions are probably a lot different from those in Chile,
right?
In some places, and in some places they're the same. So does that have an effect on what kind of seeds are in demand?
Oh, definitely. Well, borders are one thing. It's one thing, but you'll find, well, I found anyway, that a lot of the countries from places where it's a lot more difficult to grow seeds, such as in the north part of Asia, like Korea and Japan, they've been very resilient on the world market. And so a lot of these guys, including the Dutch, they're some of the most, they're more spread out around the world with their seed operations, the Dutch, that is. And the Koreans as well, they have a lot of operations overseas producing seeds in Thailand, for example. Japanese as well. So it's not just seeds. The Japanese seed company only deals in Japanese seeds. That's not true at all. Traditionally, a lot of these companies from these colder regions have had to move around to supply their demand.
Now, these companies, they don't grow anything? Where do they get their seeds from?
Well, of course they grow things.
They do grow things?
Yeah, sure they
so
grow
they grow things for seed, is that right?
Yeah, well, they grow, obviously they're supplying seeds. Seeds is one market. That's our main business. But everything around involving seeds, including agro inputs and fertilizer, a lot of these companies are also involved in those as well. But yes, they definitely produce seeds. But my point was that Korean company traditionally, I say traditionally because things are changing, wouldn't necessarily produce seeds in Korea always. They would.
Well, exactly. But my which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Well, obviously you got to have seeds, but in order to get seeds, you got to have.
Oh yeah, you got to grow crops to get the seeds.
But if you grow crops, then the tendency is to sell them. Right?
Well, no.
Because I should think that a cucumber is worth more than the seeds that are in it.
Well, not necessarily. It depends. The quality seeds. We did it all day on this. For example, Korea. We were just talking about Korea.
Yeah.
They had a golden seed project, and the reason they named, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, golden seed, that must be GMO seeds." If you look at one aspect, yes, but the reason they named it the Golden Seed Project is because they, according to their calculations, the seeds that they were producing could potentially be worth more than gold per gram. And so good seeds that do what you want to do and have the standard germination rates, 90% and above, and they can. The crops the crops that come out of it are crops that can be resistant to certain pests in the region, or are very resilient in weather extreme weather conditions, these kind of seeds are worth a lot of money, right? Because you can have a bunch of junk seeds and they can be really cheap. We were talking about this the other day. But if your germination rate only turns out to be 20%, and all of a sudden a flood comes and destroys the rest, then and you have a yield of only 1% or something, then it's not worth anything, right? So,
well, if you got one rai of land here in Thailand, and you want to do something besides plant rice, let's say.
yeah.
Let's say you want to plant corn, maize, right?
Okay.
How much are you going to invest in seed in order to plant, say, one rai of
Well, interesting you bring these two examples up right now, because the government of Thailand actually is trialing this. They're trying to shift some of the rice farmers to corn, and I was very baffled by this decision. I'm going to just digress a little bit too, because I know as well that corn's price is suffering just as much as rice on the world market. All the main grains, all the cereals, corn, wheat, rice. And so I actually spoke to one of the guys. We were just looking at him, Jia Thai. Jia Thai is one of the big seed companies, and they're partners in the same network with CP. And I actually asked him, and this is one of the executives, used to be a president of APSA as well, part of executive committee. So why is the government trying to get some rice farmers to shift to corn? I just asked him straight out.
Yeah.
And he told me basically it comes down to the same reason we were talking to you about Malaysia and their situation with trying to sustain their own domestic livestock production, including chicken and other livestock, is they need the animal feed, right? And so Thailand, among other countries such as Malaysia and most countries in the region, in fact, are importing most of their corn for animal feed. So animal grade corn. So the reason why they would want to shift to corn is not necessarily because they can sell more on the world market, for instance, but they actually just want to balance out the deficit of importing less and producing more for their own animal feed. That was
okay. But back to the original question: if that farmer he wants to get a handful of seed and throw it on the field and grow himself some corn, right? Well, what's he got to invest? For this golden seed stuff that is 90% germination.
Well, first off, let me just point out that the Thai seed law, you cannot have any commercial seeds on sale that produce less than 80% germination. There has been obviously many violations of this law, and so only recently Thai authorities, the Department of Agriculture, is actually starting to enforce the law, and they're doing random tests on many seed producers, and there's a lot of prosecution cases going right now with companies providing lesser standard seeds. So basically, to get first you need quality seeds that do what they say they do, and they need to be stored properly to be able to deliver plus 80% in accordance with Thai seed law. You need to have the quality seed to start with, and you need to store them properly, and also seed treatments. Like quality seed doesn't mean, because you can buy a bag of seeds and then you broadcast them, as you say, throw them out into the field, and then you might end up getting like 20% weeds that grow in there because other birds have carried and the way the seeds have been processed. And so if you want to ensure that you have pure crops that aren't going to be infested with weeds and other pests and stuff like that, you do need quality inputs. And so there's many ways around. There's chemical, there's synthetic, organic fertilizers and seed treatment chemicals that you can do. There's basically best practices that farmers can learn to increase their yields. So with just giving a farmer seeds and having him thrown out in the field, he's probably going to run into a lot of problems if that's that, without any education or best practices.
Okay, well, what about what's the seed business worth each year? Do you have any idea?
Well, actually, I do have it in this magazine. There's the CAGR, the annual growth rate, the compounded annual growth rate. And I actually saw this from ISF. It's growing every year, I can say that. Let me just go to the section.
Great magazine here. Very nice, full color stuff, and all the stuff that you never thought that you'd ever know about seeds are in there, and also the things that people discuss when they get together in the seed business. Which is, as I say, it's just simply, I think most of us, we think of food as being something we go to a restaurant for, it's over at the market for you, but we don't realize the big business and the considerable politicking that goes into the business of seeds.
So you want to know the world figure or just Asia specifically?
No, whatever you got.
Well, okay, we'll start with the world here. The overall value of the world seed market is put at about 53. This is 2014. 53.76 billion US dollars in 2014
per year.
No, that's the overall value of the market.
The overall
in 2014, with an anticipated CAGR, compounded annual, of 9.4% per year. So that's an
So
annual.
it's worth $53 billion that
And
year,
growing 9%.
and growing at 9%.
From
Whoa.
2015 to 2020. So this 5-6 years alone, it's going to grow. It's going to double.
Well,
itself.
that's better than the interest that you get from the bank.
Oh yes. It's a growth. So it's going to be expected to be worth about double, $92 billion by 2020. That's the world seed market. So.
By 2020, it will be worth $90 billion.
Yes, from $53 billion in 2014.
Well, no wonder that's a nice magazine, huh? Got some money.
Well, like I said, it's all about the quality seed. It's not just producing more seeds, but producing better seeds, and that's why associations like APSA and ASTA and APSA and the European Seed Association, ESA, that's why they exist, because they need to control quality seed markets.
Well, we're going to take a song break right now, and then we'll be back with more interview with Steven Layne, and we're going to find out, if we can, who these people are that are making all this bread. You're listening to 90.5 FM. This is the Good Morning Andaman program.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Andaman Superstars!
Stuck in traffic with bad habits and you hit a bump, and we know that you only want to get where you're going in one piece.
Wake up, Johnny! Pay attention! It's time for the Good Morning Andaman show, live from Radio Thailand in Phuket.
You know, it's Sunday. I'm tired of looking at ball games all day.
And I'm tired of looking at my phone. Let's do something.
Good idea. We'll prove there is more than TV and social media.
Phuket town has so many places to go. We could picnic in the shade at Sapan Hill.
And maybe we go for a run around the park at Suang Luang as the sun goes down.
Then take in the walking street on Talang Road.
Yes, artists, musicians, bistros.
It's the best place I know to enjoy Phuket's own unique cuisine,
which is now numbered among only 18 cities in the world by UNESCO for its diverse character. Let's do it! Let's go out for a day on the town in Phuket!
For more information, visit the Tourism Authority of Thailand's Phuket office on...
Good morning, Andaman. Enjoy 1 full hour daily of music, news, and affairs from 8 to 9 a.m. here on FM 90.5 in Phuket.
Your time now is 9:50 a.m. and in the studio with me is my former colleague, and now you're involved in public relations, I suppose, for the APSA.
Yeah, the communications officer.
Communications officer. And we're going to communicate to you who are we're talking about seeds and the players in the world seed industry, which is going to be worth some $90 billion per year in 2020.
Oh, not per year. That's the overall.
Well, that's per year, man. If it's rising by 10% a year, right?
Well, rising by 10% from 40, the overall market value is put at about.
Well, it's going to be double, right? Right now it's at 50 something. It's going to almost double in 3 years' time. So we're looking at big money there. And, the question obviously arises, who are the main players in that business?
Well, one thing we have going on right now is there's a lot of consolidation and mergers going on. So it's bigger companies, multinational corporations, we call them MNCs,
yes,
who are merging, and they're acquiring smaller seed businesses.
You mean like Bayer buying Monsanto?
Yeah, well, that's one of two big players that are merging into one. Bayer, which is a German pharmaceutical chemical agrochem company, and they have their big arm is Bayer Crop Sciences, and of course everyone knows Monsanto. And the other big players is you have there's another big merger. It's between Syngenta and China Chem. China Chem will be the first. This particular deal that hasn't gone through yet because the European Commission is still investigating this deal right now. It's already been tentatively passed by the U.S. FDA and the Australian agriculture authorities. Basically, so Chinachem is a state-run company from China, and they are acquiring Syngenta, which is headquartered in Switzerland. And so this is a big deal. Obviously, chemical inputs, both synthetic and organic chemical inputs related to seed and agriculture.
They'll be biting down hard on their teeth to allow that one. Oh.
Yeah. Well, our U.S. already has allowed it. It's right now with the European Commission, but it's a pretty big merger deal. And so, those are the main ones. There's also...
What's the U.S. got to do with this? Swiss company and a Chinese
Well,
company?
no, a lot of their business base is in the U.S. So there was actually a big... there's been a lot of cases in the media recently. And the courts have been really busy this last few years with a lot of intellectual property cases, and of course GMOs are always in the news. And the big one in America with Syngenta and China was to do with corn exports. America used to export a lot of corn to China, and they still do to an extent, but the market has drastically declined because of this very famous court case. Basically, a lot of the exports to China had inspected the corn imports from America, exports from America, coming into China, and found that a lot of them were genetically modified, as is most of the corn crop in the U.S. And then China still has very strict bans on GMOs for now, but that's changing actually.
Good for them.
Well,
don't change.
Well, they're actually they're opening up to the technology, and they're trying to acquire the technology as well. They recently launched Chinese Beijing-based company that's listed in the U.S. launched GMO corn trials in the U.S. itself. But anyway, so what happened with Syngenta?
They can't do it in their own country, but they use the Americans as guinea pigs.
Well, it's
I like that.
But yeah, it's technology. So anyway, with Syngenta, a lot of this corn was ended up being blocked from import, and what happened is a lot of small farmers, allegedly had been affected by this because their market share was in China, and all of a sudden, so they blamed the big MNC, the small farmers in the U.S., and they had basically recently it would be a huge what do you call those, class action lawsuits that they're trying to go through against the MNC. So, but yeah, like I said, lawyers and courts have been very busy all around, not just from these kind of market claims, but also from infringement of intellectual property rights with seeds and agricultural technology, which is very big now. So.
Okay, so APSA seems to have an office here in Thailand, right? Headquarters is right here. And does that mean that Thailand is a big player in the seed business?
Well, definitely. APSA was actually founded in Thailand in 1993 in Chiang Mai. Our first GAM was actually in Chiang Mai. They have a big seed business, and as far as the big players, back to the big players here, Thailand, everyone will know the corporation CP Foods. CP All, they're the big holding company, but even CP All is the one who owns all the franchises of 7-Eleven, for example. CP Foods, they produce a lot of the chicken and animal feed for not only Thailand, but the region and the entire world. So CP is a big player in the world market, and they started off as a Chinese immigrant in Thailand. A lot of seed companies were like this. They migrated to Thailand and started a feed company, animal feed and seed, and it elevated to the need of the rest of the world. And so you've often heard Thailand be called the kitchen of the world under the former prime minister, and that was all based on our food and feed production, and also poultry and chicken.
Does that mean that CP is big in the seed business?
Oh yeah, their main seed company.
Well, I guess
is
she is.
But yes, they started with seed like a lot of the companies, and it's an all integrated business. Not only seed, but and then it graduates to animal feed, basically grains and cereals and stuff that they feed to animals, and grasses as well. And then all of a sudden that turns into meat and livestock, and so it's a part of the whole food chain. But yeah, CP is one of those fully integrated companies. They're so integrated they have the convenience stores, so they stock a lot of the convenience stores in Japan, for example, and Thailand as well, 7-Elevens, and also all the CP Fresh Marts and such. So it's a fully integrated food business. So it's not just the seed, Obviously, any really profitable corporation will have that fully integrated value chain, as we hear a lot from the Prime Minister.
Well, if it's legal, yes. They do things here in Thailand that I think in the U.S. would be a little bit you normally the whole store can't be stocked only with your own produce. You know what I mean?
Right.
What 7-Elevens are very much dependent upon CP stuff. Anyway, the APSA I see has a new chairman or president.
New president, yes.
Yeah.
The APSA government body is basically run by a constitution, and so we have an executive board. We call it the executive committee that changes every year. New members, their tenure's up and they're renewed, and some are reelected, some new ones are.
And who is your new?
Our new president? She is Australian, originally from the U.S. Her name is Brenda, and she is a forage turf expert. So she comes back from forage and cover crops. A lot of people talk about field crops a lot, but cover crops are very important for controlling erosion and such, and also forage for
Does she come from one of the big multinationals?
She comes from a background in animal forage. She worked for USDA before. But if you want to find out more, you can actually go on our website at apsaseed.org and go to our executive board committee.
Well, I'm just that the organization itself. It seems to be countries that are part of this organization, right?
Well, yet
within the countries are obviously large producers, large businesses. So, on the one hand, it's a public agency, and on the other hand, it must be the main influence must come from multinationals and big businesses.
Well,
right?
As a seed association, we have representatives from not only seed enterprise, which is mostly the private sector, but also there's also public sector seed enterprise, especially in China, where most of it actually is PPP, private-public partnerships. Things how it go in China. But we also have government agencies, like if our executive board committee, we have it's split up into representatives of seed enterprise, representative of seed associations, like national seed associations, and we also have representatives of government agencies. And so it is a mix of everything in there, and it's not always. I know it kind of sounds like it's not necessarily MNC representatives controlling the board all the time. Like I said, the executive committee it changes a lot. It's very.
So you have input from government, from universities, from laboratories and whatnot. The full spectrum, is that
correct?
And farmers as well, I should think. Yeah.
And so even our president, she was appointed president because she was vice president. The way our constitution works is. She was vice president last year, and she automatically becomes president, and a new vice president was elected, and he'll become president next year.
Next time.
But the rest of the committee members, they're
so
appointed.
There's no politicking allowed. It's an automatic system, automatic.
Well, right, but there is obviously we have renewals, we have re-elections every year, every general annual meeting, and the actual association members have to vote. So
how do they talk to each other? People come from such disparate countries from across the globe.
Well, like any major association, we have an annual general assembly or general assembly meeting. We call it annual meeting every year, and there's an agenda every year, and our constitution requires, from our secretariat office in Bangkok, for us to communicate the latest agenda, new position papers our association is doing, different activities we're involved in, different programs coming up the coming year. Like here's an international meetings 2017 of all the different regional seed associations around the world, what they're doing, and basically anything that needs to be voted on will be voted on at the General Assembly meeting. And that happens.
Steve, thanks for joining us today.
Yes.
And it's very interesting. We're going to switch over to our feed from Bangkok now because it's 10 a.m. Listeners, I hope you come back tomorrow and join us from 9 o'clock until 10 a.m. here with Good Morning Andaman.
It's a pleasure, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. See you later, guys.
Tribute to their hometown. Several artists took this opportunity to pay tribute to His Majesty, the late King Bhumibol Adulyadej.